The old pickup truck rumbled down the dusty backroad as Marcus Johnson adjusted his rearview mirror. He'd been driving for 3 hours since his car broke down outside the small town of Millbrook, and the local mechanic had been kind enough to lend him this beat-up vehicle to get to the next city. What Marcus didn't mention to the mechanic, or anyone else in town, was that he was Colonel Marcus Johnson, a decorated Delta Force commander with 15 years of special operations experience. Right now, he just looked like any other traveler: jeans, plain t-shirt, and a worn baseball cap. The truck's engine coughed as he pulled over to check his phone for directions. No signal. The sun was setting, painting the rural landscape in deep oranges and purples, when he heard the vehicles approaching. 3 trucks emerged from the tree line, moving with obvious intent to surround him. Marcus's training kicked in immediately: assess, analyze, act. The way they positioned themselves, the coordinated timing, the remote location. This wasn't random. Well, called out a voice as men emerged from the trucks. Look what we got here. Marcus stepped out slowly, hands visible but relaxed. He counted 8 men, noting their positions, potential weapons, escape routes. His mind automatically catalogued every detail that might matter in the next few minutes. Evening, gentlemen, Marcus said calmly. Beautiful sunset. The apparent leader, a heavy-set man with crude tattoos covering his arms, sneered. You picked the wrong road to travel, boy. This here's our territory. Marcus nodded thoughtfully. I see. Well, I'm just passing through. No trouble intended. Too late for that, another man called out, producing a crowbar. We don't take kindly to your type around here. What they didn't know was that Marcus had survived 3 tours in Afghanistan, led countless high-risk missions, and been trained to handle situations exactly like this. But more than that, he'd been raised by a grandmother who taught him that true strength meant protecting those who couldn't protect themselves, and sometimes that included protecting ignorant people from their own worst impulses. Gentlemen, Marcus said, his voice carrying a new tone of authority, I'm going to give you one chance to reconsider this course of action. The leader laughed. Listen to him talk. Think you're better than us? I think we're all human beings, Marcus replied. And I think you're about to make a mistake you'll regret. The first man charged with the crowbar. What happened next seemed to unfold in slow motion to the attackers, but Marcus moved with the fluid precision of thousands of hours of training. He sidestepped the crowbar, redirected the attacker's momentum, and sent him sprawling into the dirt, all without throwing a single punch. Like I said, Marcus called out as the man groaned on the ground, one chance. But they kept coming. 10 minutes later, all 8 men were on the ground, not seriously injured, but thoroughly subdued. Marcus had used only as much force as necessary, turning their own aggression against them with techniques they couldn't begin to understand. He knelt beside the leader, who was nursing a twisted wrist and a bruised ego. Here's what's going to happen, Marcus said quietly. You're all going to drive away. You're going to think about what just occurred here. And maybe, just maybe, you'll realize that the color of someone's skin has nothing to do with their worth as a human being. The leader stared up at him, fear and confusion replacing the earlier hatred. Who are you? He stammered. Marcus stood and dusted off his jeans. I'm someone who's fought alongside men and women of every race, creed, and background to defend this country. I've seen what people can accomplish when they work together instead of tearing each other apart. He walked back toward the borrowed truck, then turned back. Oh, and gentlemen? The local sheriff is my cousin. He'll be hearing about this, but I'll tell him you all decided to change your ways. Don't make me a liar. As Marcus drove away, he glanced in the rearview mirror to see the 8 men helping each other to their feet, their earlier bravado completely deflated. Back at the base of operations 3 states away, Colonel Johnson's phone would soon ring with orders for his next mission. But tonight, he'd accomplished something equally important. He'd planted seeds that might grow into understanding, shown strength that didn't come from hatred, and proved that sometimes the best victory is the one that changes hearts instead of just winning battles. The old pickup truck disappeared into the gathering darkness, carrying a quiet hero toward whatever challenge awaited next. 3 weeks later, Marcus was back at Fort Bragg, leading a training exercise when his secure phone buzzed. The caller ID showed a number he didn't recognize from North Carolina. Colonel Johnson, he answered. Sir, this is Sheriff Deputy Williams from Millbrook County. I believe you know my boss, Sheriff Martinez? Marcus smiled. His cousin Elena had made sheriff 2 years ago. Yes, Deputy. What can I do for you? Well, sir, we've had some unusual developments here. That incident you reported 3 weeks ago? About those 8 men who changed their ways? Yes. Sir, 4 of them have come forward. They want to make things right. Marcus set down his coffee. This wasn't what he'd expected. They've been asking around town about the man who taught them a lesson without throwing a punch, as one put it. Nobody knew who you were until Mrs. Henderson at the diner remembered you mentioning you were Sheriff Martinez's cousin. Marcus walked into the small community center wearing his dress uniform, medals gleaming under the fluorescent lights. He'd driven down at the deputy's request, curious about what these men wanted. Four of his former attackers sat in folding chairs, looking nervous and ashamed. The leader from that night, who'd introduced himself as Dale Morrison, stood up first. "Colonel Johnson," Dale said, his voice shaky. We want to apologize. And we want to do more than just apologize." Marcus nodded, taking a seat across from them. "I'm listening." An older black man in the corner cleared his throat. "Colonel, I'm Pastor Williams. These men came to our church last Sunday. They told the congregation what happened that night, and what you said to them. They asked if there was something they could do," added a middle-aged woman beside the pastor. "I'm Sarah Chin, I run the community outreach program. We've been trying to fix up the old community playground for months, but we haven't had the manpower." Dale stepped forward. "Sir, we know we can't take back what we intended to do that night. But we've been talking, and, well, we realize we've been living with a lot of hate that was taught to us, not earned." Another man, younger with sun-weathered hands, spoke up. "My name's Tommy, sir. I got a little girl who's gonna start school next year. After that night, I kept thinking about what kind of world I want her to grow up in." Marcus studied their faces. These weren't the same men who'd surrounded him on that dark road. Something had genuinely changed. "What exactly are you proposing?" Marcus asked. "Work, sir," Dale said simply. "Hard work, alongside the people we wronged. Pastor Williams says there's a lot that needs doing around here: the playground, the community garden, repairs to the senior center. We want to earn our way back into this community's good graces." Sarah Chin smiled. "Colonel, we've never seen anything like it. Word got around about what happened, and now we have volunteers from all backgrounds wanting to help. Your actions that night, they started something." Marcus returned to Millbrook for the playground dedication ceremony. The transformation was remarkable, not just of the space, but of the people. Dale Morrison was teaching his young daughter to use the monkey bars while chatting easily with Pastor Williams about the upcoming community garden harvest. Tommy was explaining to a group of mixed-race children how the new climbing structure worked, his earlier hatred replaced by genuine warmth. "Colonel," a voice called out. Marcus turned to see a young black boy running toward him, followed by a white girl about the same age. "Are you really a army man?" the boy asked breathlessly. "I am," Marcus replied, kneeling to their level. "My daddy says you taught the mean men to be nice," the girl said. "Is that true?" Marcus looked over at Dale, who was watching with a mixture of pride and shame. "I think they taught themselves," Marcus said gently. "Sometimes people just need a chance to see things differently." As the ceremony continued, Sheriff Elena Martinez appeared at his side. "You know what the most interesting part of this story is, primo," she said, using the Spanish term for cousin. "What's that?" "Those 4 men? They've been recruiting others. 3 more of their old group have joined the community service program. And Dale Morrison? He's been going to other counties, telling his story, trying to prevent other groups from making the same mistakes." Marcus watched as Tommy lifted his daughter onto his shoulders so she could see the ribbon-cutting ceremony better. The little girl waved at a group of diverse children playing nearby. "You planted something bigger than you realized that night," Elena continued. "This whole region is talking about what happened in Millbrook. Communities that haven't spoken to each other in decades are starting to work together." That evening, as Marcus prepared to drive back to base, Dale Morrison approached him one final time. "Colonel, I know I can't undo the man I was. But I want you to know, my daughter is going to grow up different. Better. And it's because you showed us that strength isn't about hurting people. It's about lifting them up." Marcus shook the man's hand firmly. "The strength was inside you all along, Dale. You just needed to remember how to use it right." As he drove away from Millbrook for the second time, Marcus reflected on the unexpected mission he'd found himself on. In the military, they measured success in objectives completed and threats neutralized. But sometimes the most important victories were the ones that couldn't be quantified. The hearts changed, the cycles broken, the futures brightened. His phone rang as he reached the highway. New orders, new missions, new challenges ahead. But tonight, in a small town in North Carolina, children of all colors were sleeping peacefully in a community that had learned to see beyond the surface, to find the humanity in each other. Sometimes, Marcus thought, the most important battles weren't fought with weapons at all.